Morning, girls. Morning, girlies. Looking beautiful. Yes, you are. Sun's streaming in the shed. Good morning. What a magnificent morning it is. It's absolutely gorgeous up here. It's bright sunshine and it's just beautiful. Oh. Autumn, serious autumn, and we've got autumn jobs to do. Today's going to be a massive day of chopping stuff down. So like the dahlias, just saw on our walk down, dahlias are gone. We're going to get the dahlias down. Yeah, it's going to be action stations today. So I'm umming and ahhing about whether to get the kettle on now or do a bit of work and then get the kettle on. I think I'll do a bit of work and then get the kettle on, otherwise just basically I better do something. Right. Oh, God, it's beautiful. Okay, let's go and get the dahlias. So you know, last week, well, it was literally like 2 days ago, I was saying, oh, we need to fill up our water box before the mains water gets cut off. Well, it happened yesterday. No water now. So Mum's actually rolling up the hose because obviously we're not going to need a hose until next spring. So yeah, that is proper shutting down for the winter. There she is fighting with it. It's a bit of a slow job, this. As you can see, the hose is not whizzing along. I'll go and give her a hand at the other end. The dahlias have well and truly been got by the cold weather now, so I'm just chopping them back. I'm not going to be lifting the dahlias, although funnily enough, my first video I ever made for YouTube was about lifting dahlias. We do not have sowy soil. If you've got really clay or waterlogged soil, dahlias will generally rot out during the winter, but we don't have that problem here, so I'm going to leave all of mine in the ground. You also don't have to chop them back if you're leaving them in the ground. The top growth will just kind of collapse down and sort of form its own mulch over the top of the dahlias to help protect them from the frost. But I have a load of spring bulb planting to do under here, so I don't want to do that. In that way, you also don't cut the stems. So the stems of the dahlias are hollow. When you're chopping them down like this, the water can collect in the stems and that can add to the problem of rotting out. But I've been chopping them back this way for years and never had a problem, so I'm just doing what I do every year. You may be wondering why I'm using shears. Well, normally I would just use a pair of secateurs and cut them all off at the base and then put them in the compost heap. But the last couple of years, we found that the really tough stems of the dahlias, they don't rot down really nicely in the compost, so we need to chop them up a bit smaller. And we have a real problem with pants secateurs on plot 37 at the moment. Everything seems to need a service and needs to be sharpened, and they are just a real pest, and you give yourself repetitive strain injury trying to chop things with them. But I do have this pretty nifty, quite sharp pair of shears, so what I'm doing is just chopping them down, so chopping them into bits as I'm chopping them down, and then we'll just scoop the whole lot up and put it into the compost bin. That's the plan anyway, so I'm not going mad. I'm not trying to turn them into topiary. It just seems like the best option available currently. Job number 1 out the way. Check in with the girls. Are you enjoying the sunshine, girlies? I think you are enjoying the sunshine. Oh, yes. So the dynamic has changed between these 3 girls since I did the kind of introductory video. So Florence, who's the most dominant initially, is now bottom of the pack. Millie, who's an absolute sweetheart, this is Millie, is the middle ranking one, and she's just an absolute joy. And Rube, who is the white one, Ruby, is quite clearly the boss. She is, she's serious, a serious chicken. But they all get along just fine. There's not too much fighting. Everybody knows their place. That's what we want, isn't it? Yeah, let's go get those dahlias. Let's go get those dahlias. All pre-chopped and not a blunt secateur struggle in sight. Next up is the calendula. So some of these are still flowering, but I've taken masses and masses of seed off this saved for next year. So I'm just going to take all of this out now. Let's just have a quick nose in here while I've got the door open, because things are coming on really nicely. We have got the spring onions are looking good. We got the pak choi down here that were really tiny, they've all taken, so they're looking pretty snaz. Chicory, yum yum scrum. We've got parsley, red chicory. The parsley's looking fab actually, looks really good. Red chicory looking incredibly glamorous. We got pink mizuna, beautiful chard, hello, hello, hello. And some more spring onions, mustard greens, all that kind of thing. So I'm pretty happy with that. Do need to take these out though, they have come to an end. I'll just take what's left on them and turf them out. Yeah, although that one looks all right actually. It's pretty warm in here at the moment, sunshine full whack. I feel rather overdressed. Actually, I do need to take the leaves off the roof, they're starting to build up. I'll get the brush out. No need for shears in this case. I'm just going to chop these off at the bottom and they'll go straight in the compost heap like this. They'll rot down no problem. It's just the dahlias, their stems are so fat. They turn into like this stringy, yeah, basically like hard string in the compost heap, which isn't easy to sieve at the end, I can tell you, because it gets all tangled around your sieve. These 2 little kind of square beds, front border things outside the polytunnel have been really successful this year. We were intending to have them entirely with herbs like this gorgeous rosemary, and we did put them in, but I also ended up just scattering a lot of kind of flower seed in there, and it's just been a joy. One of the things from this year is we've been trying to kind of just put flowers in all over the place, any little gap, and it's really made a huge difference to the feel of the plot. It's something I'm definitely going to carry over next year. Two jobs down. God, it's warm, it's so warm. It's lovely. What is next, girls? What is next? whirligigs. Okay, so I mentioned right at the end of last week's vlog that very kindly Eli and Kate sent me some garlic, and that's Ducote garlic. Now I've got a little bit of space in the bed where I put the previous garlic. Actually, let's just go and have a look at the garlic now. Looking a bit snaz in the sunshine. Every single one came up, so that's a bit of a tick. Sorry about the close-up of a hair, let me get that out of the way. And this is the space at the end of the bed that I didn't fill. I also have some shallot sets to put in, and they're going to go in the bed, like the first bed in the run. And what I want to do is the cover that's currently on the carrots, you know, I made those two like beds out of what was going to be the leaf bin, but then we didn't need 3 leaf bins. We made the 2 beds that are just at the edge of, like, at the seating area next to the shed. That makes it sound much posher than it is. It's not really a seating area, just like the patch to have a cup of coffee. But we put the carrot root fly box over the top of that, which is the enviromesh one, which is the one that also keeps out the allium leaf miner. And we will plant the shallots in a space, like mark out when that one can go on the bed, because the carrot bed that it's currently on is going to have one that actually fits it properly. I'll get that done before spring. So this one, at the moment there's no allium leaf miner flies around, like it's just not a thing, it's too cold for them. So I'm going to plant the shallots now, they don't need to be covered. By the time spring comes and they need to be covered, I'm going to move that box onto that bed. And so which means basically what I'm trying to say is that I need to mark it out so that I know that I've planted all of my shallots within the space of that box. And I'm going to try and put some of the garlic in there as well, because Eli sent me way more than I was expecting. So I mean, fantastic, but also logistics. This is the bed we're using. This is actually the bed where I had the 2 failed sowings of Chimidirapa earlier in the year, where they just got eaten off. So annoying, but it does mean we've got space for the shallots to go in. And this is the box that I need to make sure I plant within the space of. So a bit of marking out. So I'll just plonk it on the bed and check how far along I can go. Right, which way? This is its width. So we just, if we go up and then round that way, and you go one side of the bed and I'll go the other. I'm marking from the end that's got the sorrel in. The sorrel's what's under that kind of triangular plastic thing, because I think having a stretch on the end of the bed is going to be more useful than having a strip down the centre by the time spring rolls through. But have a look at these! Aren't the carrots looking snaz? They look really good, which is a surprise. Lovely. So these are the shallots. I don't know if you remember last year when I had the shallot revelation, or the shallots from set revelation, where they grow in a bunch rather than a single like an onion. Well, basically I'm a complete convert. They were really successful last year. And this is the garlic that I'm going to plant in and around it. I'm going to do the same pattern that I did last year because that worked really well. So it's going to be kind of a checkerboard effect of garlics and shallots. These beautiful cloves. Gorgeousness. Massive, massive thank you to Eli for sending these to me. Okay, so the spacing strategy, like I say, I'm doing it the same way that I did last year. And that is, looking at the way that the shallots grow, they need loads of space. So you plant your little shallot set like that. And instead of the individual getting bigger, it grows all these other shallots on the outside, which means that you end up with a really quite wide, round plant. So as you're planting them like this in the nice little rows, they need loads and loads of space around them to be able to grow to their full size and for you to get loads of shallots. But that leaves these little spaces in here where I wouldn't be able to plant another shallot because there's not enough space. However, the garlic that needs the same protection from the allium leaf miner as the shallots do grows very, very slender and tall and doesn't spread out much. So your little garlic clove grows straight up like this, and your shallot grows out like this. So by planting them in a checkerboard fashion, you can get the most out of your space. And I grew them this way last year and it worked a treat. So I am repeating this year. Well, that's as many as I can fit into that space. Look at these, the nerines are looking, I love the fact that nerines come out so late in the year because everything's kind of collapsing and then you get this just gorgeous pink. And also this cosmos has survived a lot longer than the others, all the other ones are gone. In here we've got so much self-seeded stuff from the summer, it's going to be phenomenal next year, it really is. And this is gorgeous, this is a Hot Lips salvia. I absolutely love salvias, by the way, but Hot Lips is a bog standard one, but it is a pure joy. Loads more stuff is self-seeded around the edge of the pond as well from what we planted in the spring. I've got to chop this goldenrod down. Net's working fantastically, catching the leaves. And do you remember the wildflower seed mix that I sowed up this end that really didn't do very much this year? Well, we've had a couple of right gems from it right at the end, like this one. Pretty little yellow auricula down here. But this is all wrong. Look at this absolute piece of pure joy and wonder that should be flowering in late spring, not November. It's true. This time of year, the amount of compost generated is just unbelievable. Hence, I've got to put the boards on the front. I need to cut some more actually, but I haven't got around to it yet. Okay, so actually I've got just two shallots and 2 cloves of garlic left over from doing that bed. There's no point just like bunging an extra couple in when I've got this bit of space here in this bed. So I've got 2 shallots, 2 Ducot garlic to go in, and then I've got the elephant garlic, which, geez, that was expensive. Look at that, $2.99, 2 cloves. But I'm going to give it a go. I've given it a go before, it's not worked, but I thought may as well have another go. Anyway, so that's what I've got to go in the end of this bed. So it's going to be kind of solid garlic at one end and then a little bit kind of allium surprise at the other. Okay, let's break into the pricey stuff. I mean, they are some handsome cloves though, aren't they? Look at those beauties, huge. They're like eggs, or they're like my girls' eggs anyway, which are not huge. They're like bantam eggs. I don't know if that really counts. Anyway, I'm going to label the 2 elephant garlics. I'm not bothering labeling the rest of them, but the elephant garlic I'm labeling. Okay, loads being done. It's very exciting. Next thing to do though is to cross some stuff off on the list. Exciting. So next thing I need to do is it actually on the list? No. The next thing I need to do actually isn't on the list, but you know the single arches, so we've got the big arches going down the main path, and then I put those little like single arches in for the French beans this year actually, this spring. Well, we left a lot of those beans on because it kind of got to the end of the season and they got a bit black flyy and that sort of thing, so we left them on. Sorry about the kids screaming. Oh, and the sun. We left them on there to see if they would dry off. Well, they're not drying. They're just going a bit soggy, so I'm going to strip them, see what we got. Might put some in the dryer at home if I think it's worth it, or we might just stick them all in a stew, or if they're rotten, put them in the compost bin. Yeah, that's the next thing to do. And then we're going to head home for lunch because I am a hungry hippo right now. I really am. Yeah. That'll be lunch then. What else can we have with it? So that's mustard greens. We're going to just have some pasta and mustard greens. Might just pick a couple of tree cabbage leaves to kind of bulk it up a little bit. Well, we got quite a lot done today. I'm pretty pleased. But I'm hungry. So hungry. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go and make some lunch, and then actually I'm going out this evening. I'm going to see a friend of mine up in Mum's Lost the Car Keys. I'm filming behind me, so you'll just be crouching in the road. It's all right. I haven't just left Mum on the ground. She's looking for the car keys. Yes, I'm going out this evening. I'm going to Camden, where I used to live, to see a person I used to live with. So I might take you along with me. Fancy a drink? Yeah. Got them? Woo! So I've had a couple of questions about the mustard greens because they're not very good in a salad, I don't think personally, but they're really fantastic cooked, and this is my favourite way to have them. It's just a bit of garlic in a pan and then chopped up. So this is the tree cabbage, I'm using it to bulk it up, and this is the mustard greens, and I'm just going to throw them straight into the oil with the garlic. Yum yum, pat it all down. Neither of these things cook like spinach. You know, when you cook spinach and it just disintegrates, like it gets really small really quickly. This doesn't do that, and it does need a bit of liquid. So this is a bit of chicken stock in my case, but obviously vegetable stock or whatever you fancy. And it does need a little bit of time to cook down because they can be quite tough. And I've actually got a glass of wine that I didn't finish last night, so I'm going to throw that in as well, but that's not necessary. Just for a little bit of extra liquid and let that cook down. I mean, this really is about as simple as a recipe can be, but it's just so good because the mustard greens are really quite a strong flavour. So throw in a bit of salt and then chuck in some, in this case it's linguine, but spaghetti or tagliatelle or even a pasta shape if you fancy it. It works particularly well if you're shredding the cabbage to have it with a long pasta shape like a tagliatelle or whatever, because it kind of entwines and then it's easier to eat. But basically, that's it. Throw some chili flakes in if you like, or whatever you fancy, but basically, I mean, it's just delicious. And the mustard greens have a really, like a beefy flavour about them. They're really strong, and it's not mustardy though. I always assumed that they would kind of taste like mustard being called mustard greens, but they don't. They're just like a really strong, delicious green flavour. Don't know how you describe it. Anyway, try them because they're really, really good. Load of parmesan on top. You cannot go wrong for a quick lunch. Really, you can't. Absolute yum.
It didn't even touch the sides.
Okie dokie, let's go find Sarah. Righty ho, the Colonel Fawcett. We are here for a pub quiz, and I am pretty partial. Oh, that's a bit Christmassy. Pretty partial to a pub quiz, and this is the first one I've done since whenever it was that COVID hit. It's quite exciting.
Well, it looks like you're just here with the invisible man. Okay. Cheers.
Fish and chips has been had, and we are about halfway through the quiz.
Keep drinking the milk and one day you'll make it to the top two.
Take it. Do you look proud, Sarah? Woo!
I've still got.
Right, are you? Well, that was a bit of a blooming surprise because how many teams were there?
A fair few.
A fair few. We had a whole.
I don't know, more than a dozen. I would say.
A whole room of teams. And also I just have to just put in a little caveat here, right? Sarah, queen of the pub quiz.
Well,
actually,
I'm
hang on. I know I've just had to beat that out because it's YouTube. Queen of the pub quiz, not the other word in the middle of it.
I am out of practice, but apparently I went in there.
Yeah,
all
but
guns
you
blazing.
say out of practice, like she's trivia quiz queen. So anyway, I was in excellent company and we won a bottle of wine and we're very pleased about it. And we're now going to a different pub. Come in here. Should we sit outside?
Just have one that, you know,
Or do you want to? I'm happy to sit inside. Oh, beautiful thing. Thank you very much. Our prize. We're feeling well smug. Can you tell? I look like Dracula. Morning! It's not quite sunny today, but it's pretty toasty warm actually. So we are up here this morning. I've got a couple of jobs that I wanted to get done yesterday but couldn't. So one of them is to cut down the asparagus. I was going to call it asparagus then, asparagus, because it's come to its end now and it's all bright yellow, so it's time to come down. And also I've got 2 more beds to stick some field beans in. The first bed that I did the field beans in is looking fantastic. All the beans are up and they're all about this high, looking tick. So I brought them up with me today. I'm going to get them in the 2 more beds that we need to do. But the thing is do you remember, so a couple of weeks ago, God, it must have been maybe a month ago, I sowed some Phacelia in the bed that's got the tree cabbages in, and I sowed some mixed stuff right in the top bed. Well, the germination has been really, really poor. And I think I know why it is. Do you remember me talking about the one? This is the same as the one that I sowed in the top bed, and it was really old seed and we'd got it as a bargain, which is why it was a mix, and we'd actually bought it as like end of season seed like 2 years ago. So basically it's at least 3 years out of date and it didn't do very well, unsurprisingly. So what I'm going to do is just rake up the ground a little bit more and throw this whole packet down on that top bed, see if anything happens. I mean, the seed is mostly spent. Obviously if it's really old seed it's not going to do much, but I'd rather put it down there, and even if the birds just end up eating the seed, that's better than nothing. So the same with the Phacelia that I sowed, it was that same. I got the seed at exactly the same time as I got that mixed one, and germination has been incredibly poor. It is really late to be sowing Phacelia, like normally kind of like September, end of September is when you'd stop. It's now mid-November, but the seed's only going to get thrown out otherwise, so I'm just going to throw the whole lot down in that bed, which obviously this can do about 25 square meters, and that's about 2 square meters. So I'm figuring if I just really overload it, something's going to come up, or if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to throw it down anyway, because otherwise it's going to be wasted. But the main one I've got to get in is the field beans, because they're going in the brassica beds, or the beds that we're going to use the brassicas for next year, which is what we did last year, and it worked an absolute treat. The brassicas have been, well, so I'm just looking at them. The brassicas have been really top notch this year, just really lush, really green, and growing really well. So green manure, strategy in, chop the asparagus down. We are action stations. Let's go. These are the 2 beds for the field beans. How you wearing, girlies? How you wearing, girls? Girlies. Oh, and the sun's come out, gorgeous. Right, so I'm sowing that bed, and this one at the end here is the ones that I sowed a couple of weeks back, or a bit more than a couple of weeks back, but ooh, looking good. Although they are a broad bean, I'm sowing these much more densely than I would a broad bean that I was asking to actually pod up and give me any beans from. This is a green manure, like I say, so it's really just going to be a nitrogen fixer for the soil, ready for my brassicas next year who love the nitrogen. So yeah, quite densely sown, and I'll be chopping this all down before they even come into flower. I have done a whole video on green manures actually, and kind of what they are and why I'm so keen on them. I did that back in the days when I was doing 2 videos a week, and I will put a link at the top of the screen now. But if you want to finish watching this video and watch that one afterwards, I will put it as one of the linking videos at the end on the end screen, if you're interested. Marvellous. Field beans done. Tick. Next thing, let's go and have a look at the ones that were really not that successful, and I'll show you what I mean. This is the Phacelia. As you can see, like a bit of it's germinated on this side, but really very poor. Very poor, chaps. All these huge gaps in the middle here. It's not perfect, is it? And this is the top bed where I had the combination, you know, the mixed bag. And some of them have come up. A couple of the foraging peas have come up. And this is a bit of ryegrass. Oh, leaves everywhere. All this kind of stuff. But I may as well just chuck the other packet straight down in here. See what we can do. First task though is to rough up the soil surface, because after I had sown this, we had an awful lot of rain, and I think it really kind of flattened and compacted the soil. So that might have had something to do with the germination, but whatever, it's going to need to be roughed up for the seed to make contact with the soil. So, right, these 2 chaps are coming with me. Game again. Boiling. Okay, now this really is a proper autumn job, this. I'm going to chop down the asparagus. I've already taken these 2 off because these were the ones that kept getting me in the face last week, which was annoying. But the rest of these guys are coming down today. So that's properly like signing off summer, that is. Totally and utterly. They are magnificent asparagus ferns. This colour that they go when they're just sort of golden and wonderful is a joy. But you do have to take them off because the asparagus roots take a long time to establish. They're kind of this big kind of crown under the ground. And if you leave the tops on, they can kind of act like a bit of a sail, and they wobble the roots around underneath the ground, and then results in a weaker plant. So as soon as they get to this stage, once they've got all the goodness they possibly can from the greenery, just take them straight down at the bottom. leaving a couple of inches. You don't have to leave a couple of inches, but for us it makes a lot of sense because this isn't a particularly even spread of asparagus crowns, and leaving some above ground is really helpful to know where they are and then to know where they're going to come up next year. And it also means that we can kind of plant the odd flower and stuff between them, like these cornflowers that you can see at the front here that are all collapso. If we can see where we've got the crowns and where the strong crowns are, it just means that we're able to kind of use the space a bit better. So we leave some above ground, just as a bit of a guide. Okay, pretty sorted. That's the 2 jobs I wanted to get done this morning done. Obviously I need to tick them off on the board. That is the most important bit, the peak of having done something. Well, we got an awful lot more done this week than we did last week. A lot more. Just a quick thing, I'm wearing a hat because the temperature has absolutely plummeted. Because in this is my studio, it's absolutely freezing. There is a radiator, but it doesn't seem to actually affect the temperature of the room very much. So yeah, when I'm in here, it's all jumpers and hats and woolly socks. So cheers anyway to another week. What I've realised I mustn't do is when I'm doing this, just having a chat at the end, I mustn't talk about what I'm going to do next week because it never works out that way. I was watching something the other day about people, I was trying to solve a technical issue on the YouTubing, and it was people kept talking about content calendars and how everybody's got their stuff planned out that they're going to record for like weeks or months ahead of when they record it. Yeah, my content calendar, it just, yeah, there's just no such thing over here. Anyway, I suppose that's just the way it goes, doesn't it? Everything's so dependent on the weather that it's really tricky to kind of know what you are doing and what you're not doing. And also, I'm not very good at planning things anyway. So, like, I never know what I'm doing week to week. And what I'm trying to say is I still haven't got the greenhouse done. Still haven't done the greenhouse, and that's a bit of a problem because obviously, what was it, 2 weeks ago Mum was washing the roof of the greenhouse. Well, it's very handy to have like mains water on when you're washing the greenhouse because then you can rinse it off, but I've missed it because it's been turned off. So it's my own fault, but I'm making the job a lot harder for myself. Never mind. This is a really long one, so I'm not going to talk on for ages. I'm going to just say cheers. I hope you all had as good weather as we did here. As part of the reason that it's such a long video is just the weather was beautiful, the sky was blue, it feels really autumnal, it's really exciting, and it's just bliss being out there at the moment. So yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Get up early. Weather's supposed to be good for the next like 4 days or so. Cold, really cold, but sunny. Gonna have my glass of wine, go have some dinner, and look forward to tomorrow. Cheers, chaps. I'm a bit of weer gaan doen, maar is dat zeer weer veel maar ja, wel op me nog weer maar één mag ik het niet meer. Ja, was die ook zo even ze was ja ze Asparagus yes ja bij. Oh, het is echt. Ik wil niet meer dat we dat on